Hey everyone, Livy here, back with another video. I'm gonna apologize in advance. I think the lighting on this might be a little weird, but it is what it is. It's the time of day I'm filming. But anyways, today I am actually doing a VR called Apocalypse Decks. This is by Velvet Forest Moon, but I was originally tagged actually by Tammy Pie. And listen, girl, if you're watching Tammy Pie, I totally meant to do this video earlier, but life exploded in my face, so I'm doing it now. But yeah, this is Apocalypse decks. This is basically what decks you think you would take with you going into the apocalypse, which is really interesting to think about. But we're going to explore this based on the prompts and everything. First off, there are 10 prompts. The last one is a bonus one. And it's not actually decks. So I'll talk about that at the end, of course. But we'll start with the first one. Prompt number 1 says, what would you use to store your decks? Would you use like a bin, a backpack, a tote, etc.? To be honest, I would probably do some type of backpack tote situation. Preferably, I think the backpack. Now, I don't really have one to show that's like big enough for what I envision. But if the apocalypse was coming, I would pretty much grab whatever size that I thought was the biggest, and just take those decks. I do have one bag I guess I could try, and it would fit most of these decks and things. So there's that, but I don't know. It depends on what the situation is too. Like if you were in an apocalypse situation where you still had some kind of car or caravan situation, you could afford to do like a bigger bin. But I don't know. I'm still a little undecisive on that, but it would most likely it'd be a backpack or a tote, because those would be what would be easier to travel with depending on what kind of apocalypse we'd be thinking here. But yeah. Now to get into actual like deck prompts and stuff. Prompt number 2 of the apocalypse decks is decks that would personally help you deal with the end of times. And this is a little hard to think of. It's like, what deck would I use? But I think like there was 2 answers I could have gone with this. And I guess I could technically do both of them, but to do so, I would need to grab the other one. So actually give me 1 second. Okay, back. The 2 decks that I would personally think would help me actually deal with the end of times would be these 2. The Goblins and Gardens Tarot deck for 1, and the Lilifer Tarot as the other. Lilifer Tarot, this one is the gold edition, see, so you can see. And the Goblins and Gardens. And you might be wondering, like, why would I personally pick these 2 as like help me deal with the end of times? Well, I think it's because this one, right, the Goblins and Gardens, I think is just a really good deck for me in terms of finding peace and calm within the world. Especially, it's funny because this deck is actually like a post-apocalyptic deck when you think about it, because it's about like monsters running away to a better life after the end of times or whatever, or wanting to be free of being monsters kind of thing. And the Lilifer here, I think, is just... Ooh, sorry, I just realized. Has my video been tilted this whole time? It probably still is, but oh well. And the Lilifer, I think, would just be good for me personally, because this is a deck that just makes me feel like I can navigate my emotions no matter what the emotion is, whether it's negative or not. But at the same time, it's still very light. Ooh, I just realized, what the hell's wrong with this one? There's like a weird... I think it's weirdly dirty. I don't remember it being dirty before. I'd have to look into that. You guys probably can't see that, but that's fine. Okay, but anyways, these 2 decks, and I will show them in tandem. I just think one is easier for like actually examining my feelings, and the other is just so I feel better about the fact that the world is over. Although these images might make me sad that certain things like vegetables and plants might not exist anymore, depending on what apocalypse situation we're thinking about here, right? Like, what kind of apocalypse do we have? Is this like Parable of the Sower where everything is fucked and there's like cannibal people coming at you? Or is it an apocalypse because we had like a natural disaster situation that could be more, I don't even know. What was that book called? There was a book that reminded me of this where like, for some reason, the moon got a lot closer to Earth and it like fucked everything up and basically started making people freeze in their houses and stuff. It's a YA series. I don't remember what it was called. But yeah, it just depends on like what kind of apocalypse we're dealing with here. But you know, you'd want something cheery and you'd want something that lets you navigate your darker emotions, no matter what those are. So I think like both of these would be good in equal measure, just kind of to balance out my emotions, so to speak. So I would want both of these. And yeah, that's what I would say for prompt number 2. Okay. Prompt number 3 of this tag is decks that you would bring, that you could use to bring entertainment and lightness to others. There we go. And I decided to pick this one. This is the Every Little Thing You Do is Magic Tarot. And the reason why I think this would be a good lightness entertainment deck is, first off, well, combined with this. Oops, sorry. Like shaky here. Combined with the actual guidebook this deck comes with. These are the backs, by the way. This is a deck that is an animal style collage deck. Did you know, guys? Yeah. It like has some illustrations, but then it also is collaged with like other imagery. This deck is just very fun to me. It's very whimsical. The borders are fun. It's got some things from the world, but it's just very entertaining, kind of cute. I think this would be a good entertainment one, especially if you paired it with like, so this guidebook has little bits in here. So like every card has a stone, and it has a song related to it, and then it has scents related to it. So that could be a good entertainment, kind of like to go through that if people still had it, to feel kind of one with the universe. It just feels, I don't know, this deck just feels so whimsical. And then there's some things like this that like the collective would be able to have some imagery attached to some memory, you know. And I think that for that, this would just be a fun one to bring, you know. It's also made of a material that feels like it'd be at least a little bit water resistant, which is also good. So it would last longer in the apocalypse as it entertains others. And it's just like this 4 of Wands is so beautiful. You know, it's just a fun one. So I think this would be a good one to bring into the apocalypse. And people would just understand. Except they might not like the snake imagery. But still, like this one, the 9 of Pentacles with the goldfish. I just think it's fun. And yeah, I think this could be potentially a really, really good one for use to entertain others. Okay, next, prompt number 4 is a deck that connects to the world that was lost, kind of like a historical artifact. And I'd say out of all my decks, Tildwick Tarot is probably the closest to that kind of thing. because if you don't know already, this is a deck that, well, okay, first off, these are the backs. But this is a deck that is basically if you took like an old abandoned manor house of some kind and all the things that would be inside of it, you would basically get this deck. I love this one. I feel like this would show the times that were, yeah, like an ancient old artifact of things, symbols that used to exist, how some people used to live in like certain grandeur. This kind of imagery, I would say, is definitely not something seen as much in the American, like US side of things. But this definitely connects to me more to like European landscapes and stuff and what the world used to look like in those times or how they used to build things. A lot of this imagery even reminds me, I guess, of when I was in Portugal. Funny enough, the next deck I'm going to show actually deals more with that. But it is just like, it just feels like this definitely historical artifact. Connecting people to the way that things used to be. And yeah, I don't know if we would remember things like this in apocalyptic times, but I absolutely love this deck. And it just feels, every time I touch it, go through it, it just feels so special. And I feel like it'd be one that I would definitely want to take with me into apocalyptic time. So I guess that's another reason why I would want it on hand in general, I guess. Okay, next up, prompt number 5 of this is decks that connect you to ancient traditions that are timeless, something old that an ancestor might have used. And particularly because I am Portuguese, you know, I come from more the Iberian side of things. My ancestors probably would have had something like the Nemeth Tarot. This is a deck by Jonasa Jaus. Sign on the back kind of thing. Now, I will say, as I've said before with this deck, Nemeth Tarot is based on Galicia, specifically in Spain. But it's kind of already a very known fact if you're in those kind of circles that Galicia and northern Portugal are very much tied. They're even closer in some ways than like other parts of Spain or even Spain at all. And also linguistically, Galician is actually a little closer to Portuguese than it is to Spanish. But anyways, this is a deck that would definitely connect to my ancestors. It would have been imagery and similar figures that they would have known. Again, a lot of overlap in the cultures. This is something that, as far as I know, my ancestors did have a hold of, these stories and these things. I do know that Jonasa is making, I guess, a guidebook to explain more of these stories, because I recognize a few of them, but I don't recognize all of them, of course. So I'm really interested to see what she does with it and how she explains things. But it's very beautiful. Again, it feels like my ancestors, even things like the Green Man. Because the thing that if you didn't know this, a lot of Portugal and like Galician, or not Galician, sorry. Yeah, Galician, sorry, never mind. My brain is like pooping out today. Galicia and all that is more, what is it, Celtic? It has some Celtic origins. So, yeah. It would be something that was, would be in the repertoire. You know, even this is very traditional. I'm like, oh my goodness. So, this is something my ancestors would have had. And for that reason, I kind of would want to have it around, if not just for that. So, yeah. I guess that's all I'm going to say for now, but we'll be moving on. We'll be moving on from this. Okay. Prompt number 6 of this tag is actually a tarot or spiritual resource you can't live without. This could be book, study journal, guidebook, grimoire, etc. And you know, the one thing I realized is, I mean, okay, I have a lot of different tarot books. I have a lot of different things. And if I'd lost them, I wouldn't necessarily be, like, I still have the knowledge in my head, so it's not like I'd be, like, completely bummed out. But I would want this on hand. And for those who don't know what the hell this is, this journal happens to be my book of spreads, as it says here, the book of spreads. I am slowly filling this up, so it's not completely full, but it has basically a lot of the tarot spreads I actually use and or have made and would want to keep track of. See, as you can see, there's not as much because I'm still slowly adding to this. But once this is full, I feel like this would be the one resource I'd want to have the most, because I could actually give people readings through this, you know what I mean? And a variety of different readings, and I wouldn't lose track of them because they would all be here. And it would actually help people solve problems. So once this is fully done, I think this is going to be great. So far, it actually is. I am enjoying the process of slowly putting my most important and favorite spreads into this. But at the moment, this is something I don't think I'd be able to live without, because I think it would be very, very valuable, or at least, you know, to me. Okay, prompt number 7 to move right along is a non-tarot item or spiritual tool you can't live without. You can extend this to being a spiritual kit if you think you could fit it in. And fun fact, it's actually twofold. This quilt, for one, was actually made by my Bizawa, my great-grandma. And I would want to keep this. This would probably be the one quilt, even if other times passed and I had to get rid of all the other shit, I would keep this one because she made it for me. But the other thing I think I would take along, just because, as you can see, this is very tiny. This is something I bought on Etsy, but this is a mini travel shrine that is dedicated. Oops, sorry, I'm like trying to move things in here. This is a mini shrine that is dedicated to Demeter. So I could turn on this little, there we go. I could turn on the little light it came with, put it right here. And I could, you know, have time to worship Demeter with it. As you can see, this little light will actually help. Not Demeter, sorry. This is for Hestia. Although I would also think about getting one for Demeter, but this is for Hestia, sorry. Little light, you know, because Hestia is the goddess of hearth and home. And I think that would be important in the apocalypse, having Hestia in the background. Some things and images that reminded me of Hestia. Even in here, the light, I guess, would help shine. There's a little piggy. There's an extra light up here, I guess. Baubles and things, you know? It just reminds me of Hestia. And I think this would be cute. It'd be small enough. Do a little prayer, do my thing while in the apocalypse. So, yeah, I would definitely want my little shrine that I got. So very, 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 very important to have, along with this quilt. Okay, next up, prompt number 8 is journals you would bring along with the necessary tools, like a pen. Like right now, these are kind of some of the extra. I would just get whatever journal extras I think would fit. These two are specifically for tarot, so I would bring them along. Usually I have these kind of pens. Oops, sorry, my name is like on there. Awkward. Anyways, I like gel pens. I would take these into the apocalypse with me. I do not give a shit. These pens, a pencil of some kind. Usually this style of pencil is my favorite. This is a Papermate. And yes, I would immediately stockpile a bunch of lead. I do not give a shit. I would take this and I would take my gel pens and I'd be set for life. Those would go with me into the apocalypse. I do not care. These are my journals that I would just use because they're blank right now. And you want to start from scratch when you're going into hard times, I think. So, yeah, these would be the things. Okay. Prompt number 9 is any other decks that you think you would need going into the apocalypse and why? And I decided just to pick these 3 as is just because I want to. Oops, it's upside down. This, for instance, is the Guided Hand Tarot. This is just one of my favorite decks. It's my favorite collage deck currently. Love this one. And I think I would want this going into the end of times, you know. It's just a great deck in general, but yeah, I would want this going into the end of times. I would also want my Spark and Pen Tarot, just because I can't even tell you this deck is not the greatest gift of all time. In some ways, you could even say the design is simple, right? It's mostly colors and very simple designs. But at the same time, I love this deck. I love the colors conveyed. I love the emotion that manages to be in it. You know, I would want this also. And then, of course, you guys know this already. Who the hell is going to be surprised? Literally nobody. I would also, of course, take my copy of the Raven's Prophecy Tarot, because I cannot imagine going into the apocalypse without this deck. It is literally my most accurate reader. It is my oldest tarot deck. I had this deck for a few years before getting other decks added in. It was the only one I used. And I just love it. I don't imagine, like, I can't imagine not having it around, you know. So these 3 would have to come with me. But I guess finally, for the last bonus prompt here, prompt number 10 actually is, what are your favorite apocalyptic shows, movies, books, etc.? I mean, there's a lot that people could say for this one. Personally, I really like, what is it? Oh, I mean, okay, I don't know if it technically counts, but, ooh, did I put, no, I don't know. I'm putting these all in weird order. Anyways, I really like Scythe by Neil Shusterman. Something about that book and series feels apocalyptic, even though it's not technically the apocalypse. It's just that people have learned to, what is it? People have learned to cheat death. But maybe even that can be the apocalypse in some ways, because Scythe will come and kill you just to control the population size every once in a while. So I guess I'm counting that one in there. What's another one? For a show, kind of a weird niche show. Don't know if anyone else really watched this one. But I really liked the show Into the Badlands for some reason. I don't know if anyone knows that. It was on AMC, which is like an American channel. And Into the Badlands was basically a post-apocalyptic, like, what's the word? It was a post-apocalyptic kind of like martial arts show, because there are some prominent people who know how to do martial arts and stuff who were in that show, did all that. There was parts of it that were silly, and definitely it's a little gory, so if you mind gore, please don't watch that one. But I also really liked that one. Another book series, I liked Mary Lou's Legend series. That's a YA also. Oh, if I didn't mention that, Scythe is YA technically. What other one? Yeah, I really like the Legend series. It's just been a while since I've read it, so I don't know how I'd feel about it now, but I like that one. I only watched the first season of the show, The 100, but I did actually like that one. And then, I don't know if there's anyone, I mean, a lot of people would say, oh, Hunger Games, and I guess I do enjoy the Hunger Games to a degree, but I also, what's the word? I feel like the book slowly kind of went downhill. Maybe I'm the only one who thinks that, but like I didn't like the last book very much, so I don't know if I'd want or if I care about that apocalypse one as much. I've also created books that are more post-apocalyptic, but I'm not going to get into that right now. They're not for sale, any of that, but sometimes I think about that too. It reminds me of what the world could be like, but yeah. Anyways, if you guys have watched this long, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all again next time. Bye!